which Jenica Stander will lead us in the pledge.
Our dear kind Heavenly Father, as we come before thee today as a commission here in the great state of Utah and Box Elder County, we appreciate thy hand in all the things that we do. We recognize the efforts of people trying to keep our community free and safe. Please bless those people that are out on the fire today, that they might be able to come home safely and that they might be able to put the fires out, and that we might be able to have some rain and that the temperatures will be tempered, that it won't be so hot, and that the farmers can get their crops up, and that the cattle won't suffer as much. And please help us this next week during our fair, that we might be able to realize that it's a celebration of not only life, but for the freedoms that we have. Please continue to watch over our armed force services people in other countries, that they will also be able to come home safely, and help us again to be able to recognize our blessings and for the things that we have, and let us be grateful for all of them. We ask these favors and blessings in the name of my Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
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 Please stand and repeat the Pledge of Allegiance with me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thanks, Jenica. Thanks, Commissioner. Did you guys get a chance to look over the minutes? Looks like we got 2 of them to approve.
Yeah, I would make a motion that we approve the minutes from our August 5th and our August 7th special commission meeting.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Scott, second by Commissioner Summers. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Any administrative review, future agenda items?
Oh, I think we just talked about the one for Manaway and for the parking, so we'll make sure that we get Bill on that
Okay,
and let us know what else we can do.
get that parking lot thing solved. Okay. Any former agenda items? We do have a fire issue. Corey's out on a fire in Hansel Valley. Last I'd heard, it was between
3 and 4.
400 acres.
Yeah.
So hopefully they got that contained and out shortly. So,
Dusty said this morning it was 70+% contained, so.
was it? Okay, good. Okay. Any emergency management issues other than COVID?
Have we still not heard back from the governor? You said you were going to kind of take a look and see what, we petitioned the governor to go to Green about
6 weeks ago,
6 weeks
a
ago.
little longer. No, there's been a little bit of a hiccup. General Burton is no longer the acting health director for the state of Utah. They brought in somebody else, and I haven't had a chance to visit with him. I talked with Lloyd Berenson. There's a delegation coming up from the governor's office tomorrow. I'm hoping to meet with them and Lloyd. They'll be at the office here in Brigham, and maybe get an additional update. The last that we spoke, they did not want to act on taking anybody to a different level until our rolling case count was was under 500 per day. We've been under that for quite a while now, at least 10 to 14 days now, Mark?
Yeah, but the last I heard, they wanted to kind of just wait and see what happens with school starting.
Yeah.
To see what happened, that's, they were just kind of holding.
Which year? This year? I'm just asking.
Just see what happens over the next.
2025.
I mean, because Box Elder County's average has been what for the last?
Oh, geez, we've been between 3 and 10 cases a day for the last
Yeah. So-
week to 10 days tops.
Yeah, and our total, we're at 110 cases as of the numbers yesterday.
Active.
Okay, active cases, total of almost over 400. But active cases that they're actually tracking is only 110. Now, there's some nuances
Right.
there, I mean, about that, folks that aren't going and getting checked and reported and so on and so forth, but we're pretty low.
Yeah, so now it'll be waiting until we know what's going on with the schools, but those are rolling opening dates.
Right.
And so most everybody in Box Elder County will go back at the same time, but Cash and Rich are different. And so I don't know if they want to act on the entire department But Cash has never formally sent in their request to go to grain. They had it already, but they've never formally sent it in after the spike that they had. And I don't know that Rich ever did either. So we're the only one in the district. So,
Well, yeah, because Rich just told us that they're just basically saying they're green and doing whatever they want anyways.
they've had 10 cases total. And they had raspberry days up there a week ago. And
You know, I know during our call,
went well.
when we were with UAC, we were talking about, you know, all the fairs and rodeos that have happened, and they were watching to see if there was any spikes that happened around those times, and there's actually not really been anything happen during those times, so.
Well, no, and Spanish Fork was one of the biggest, and it was a few weeks ago. And so if there would have been anything that would have happened, we would have seen it by now.
No, it's been about, what, 10 days since Cache County had their fair?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I still say if you grew up swimming in canals, you're pretty much immune to anything. So that takes care of 90% of the population, right? So,
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm hoping to know a little bit more tomorrow. I think we'll get some information from the governor's office when we meet with them. So
okay,
Good. Anything else, you guys?
that's all I've got.
Okay.
thanks.
All right, thank you. Looks like, Laura, you're up.
I am.
Come on up here and
Is there a chair there?
we have the microphone and the chair.
I can find a chair, and I can find a microphone. I can do it. Well, thank you, I didn't expect you to do that, but thank you. I'm Laura Selman, and I just came to say, wow, we've done it. We're going to carry forth with our fair, and I think that's great. I think we're all a little bit on edge, but I tend to agree if we beat a little dirt, we're probably better off than we would have been. And I think we have done that in Box Elder County. And we've had our fair share of smoke too. We don't need any more of that. But I think you guys have done an awesome job in pulling this off. And I think we're going to be fine. I think we just go forward, and I think we use common sense. And I think it comes back to the same thing. If you're sick, for heaven's sake, stay home. And isn't that what your mother told you when you were a little kid? And sometimes you tried it and you found out that if you stayed home, you had to stay in bed, so it wasn't as much fun as you
I
thought.
was just
it
gonna
was.
say, my mom just sent me to school. She didn't want me around.
No, she didn't. She sent you to bed. If you, I knew your mom too well. But I do thank
Herd
you for
immunity.
what you're doing and what you've done. And I think we've got some challenges in the county, and there's some things I'd like to see happen, and one of them is a museum. But I'm the world's greatest pusher for that, so, but you know how much I love what we represent in Box Elder County. And we have a tremendous heritage, and I think we should preserve it.
Well, and I think, Laura, when it comes to volunteerism, you know, we have that. And our biggest problem with some of the things, events during the fair is that the volunteers were just kind of nervous about coming out and doing those things. And so when the Farm Bureau stand decided that they weren't going to do stuff, you know, it wasn't us that told them they couldn't. It was just them that said, we're not going to participate, and somebody else stepped in and is going to do it. So I think
Well, I think we have to use common sense with that, and I really do. And I think it's going to happen because I think we've got common sense folks in the county. And just because you can't cook this year doesn't mean that you're off the table. You just plan on next year, because we will be cooking. We do expect help.
we might have.
Well, that was my next
Yeah.
question. Just tell us where we're supposed to be and when we're supposed to be there, and we'll be
Well,
there this year and
okay.
next year.
That's right.
It's going to be next year because we're doing this auction differently, and I have to tell you, everybody that helped with the auction has stepped to the plate for the video auction.
Yep.
They have all come through with, I called and I says, I need some money, and I turned around and I had $800 so fast it made my head swim. So I just say thank you for,
Well, and just for the record, I know you know this, but we didn't decide on how that was going to go either. That was the auction committee that made that decision,
and I know that.
and we support them in that, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I can see what the situation is, and so we don't need to ask for trouble. We can create our own pretty fast.
We've had a few people chew us out thinking it was our
I
decision.
think that is wrong.
So-
And I hope that this year at the fair that people use common sense, because no one is trying to make decisions for anyone else. We're just trying to stay as safe as we can and use common sense. And I think if we choose to not go to something, that's our privilege. If we choose to go, for heaven's sakes, be polite. So that's all I've got.
Well, and we appreciate you and your family and all the volunteers that help out and just
We are
do,
happy to help.
put forth
Like
a
I said.
tremendous effort to make this happen. And even with COVID going on, I mean, next year we'll be back and it'll, hopefully be normal and,
Bigger and better.
but we really appreciate,
Well,
all
I
that
think
you do.
everybody
And
has tried, and I appreciate what you're doing, and I think people ought to think before they make phone calls and before they say something, they ought to go stand in the corner and think about what they're gonna say, because sometimes it comes over a little bit different than
Well,
we think it's
proper information and good information goes a long ways, so we
So
appreciate
we're doing the
it.
best we can, and I give Jan hundreds and hundreds of thank yous, and yes, you're fine, because she's kind of in a situation where she's darned if she does, darned if she doesn't, and so it's okay. It's like I told her, just turn the cheek and walk the other way, because
It's tough.
we all know we're trying to do the best
I
we
think
can.
it's been essential too, from a mental state capacity. It's just people need something. Like you said, people are on edge. They need to have some things, and I think this is going to be a good thing for
Well,
a
and
lot
I
of
think it's
people.
good. I think what they're doing with the art is good. I think what they're doing with the rodeo is good. As I said, you choose whether you come or you don't, and that's fine.
There'll be plenty of food, there'll be plenty of things to look and do, and so, starting Monday,
And
they'll,
so if you're nervous about the food, bring your own sandwich and
Yeah.
be quiet.
There you go.
So,
And we will be providing masks at the rodeo too,
Yeah.
so
yeah,
that's,
well, and I think that's great. That's fine. So I just want to say thank you, so.
thanks.
thank you.
Thank you.
And yes, we will be doing things next year, and yes, you will be expected to be on garbage duty or whatever we do need, so thank you very much.
We'll be there.
Yes, we'll be
We will.
cutting meat.
Yes, we
So-
will, 'cause
All
my
right.
hands are kind of
That's
chapped.
right, your hands will
That
get
lamb
better as
one
we cut
lasts a
that
long
meat,
time.
so it'll be okay.
I couldn't pick up
Thank
anything
you
for
so
a
much.
month.
Thank you.
Thank you. Tell your husband hello.
Tell Fred hi.
Oh,
You don't want to give them to me first, there won't be any left.
All right.
Pass those around the room.
Yeah. We'll have to pass those around. Looks like our 11:37 item's been bumped to the next meeting. So we'll go ahead and we'll move on to the Melissa Maldonado.
I don't see her.
She's not here. This is the item that,
And then I'll go pass.
yeah, we just tabled it last time.
We were wondering if she was going to show up,
You guys want to take one and give this to Chrissy?
and I'll go,
Pass this around.
oh, that's right, because we were waiting for somebody to come back from having some fun. That's true.
Yeah. Before we get started on this, Commissioner Scott's gonna hand those to Chrissy and we'll pass them around the room so
I
people
missed-
can have one.
I missed him when he was up there.
Brian didn't get one, but if you've never had her cookies,
Everybody gets one, and then Brian, they're yours. You get the remainder.
if there's anything left.
Set him right here.
As long as Scott and Mitch don't take them all before you get to them, so.
So going back on this item here, we tabled it, didn't have it on there last go around, but just in summary, there was a 10% penalty or $30,000 for a late fee to this company, and they're looking for some leniency on that, where they're late. After talking and discussing and looking into this, my feelings are with their situation. I was unaware of this, but during the time of the lockdown because of COVID and trying to get their checks out, that was part of their problem with their lagging. Because they didn't have people in the office to facilitate those and get those out. That being said, there's other companies that were able to get their stuff out on time, that were probably in similar situations, similar lockdowns. So And what was discussed before was the amount, the 10% amount being pretty harsh, $30,000 for being a week and a half, 2 weeks late. That is what the state law is set at right now. Under the current situation with COVID, I don't mind reducing the penalty, but there needs to be some sort of penalty because they were late.
Yeah, Steve sent us an email, our county attorney, back on July 27th, and I had a chance to read through that and the statute. And he goes through and does an excellent job, as always, of outlining it. And so as it talks about it, it says that the specific findings must be made by the county commission. There are a few things that should be noted. It talks about best human interests. The interest of the state of Utah must be served, and the interest of the county must also be served. As I read through there, the interesting thing is, when you're talking about the interest of the county and the interest of the state, it doesn't talk about specifically financial interests. And we do collect the property taxes for all the different taxing entities, and then we turn around and remit those back to them, whatever their share is. And I don't know that it's necessarily, in my opinion, always looking at financial interests. One of the first things I want to do is talk to our legislators and get this changed. I mean, this is ridiculous. To hit a company with a 10% penalty for being 2 weeks late, to me, that's onerous. I mean, it's mafia payments. I mean, you're talking 10% for 2 weeks. If it were 1% a month or something like that, I can see it. But the second that they notice this, they took care of it. And so I agree with Commissioner Hadfield, there needs to be something, so, that we're not setting a precedent. But I wouldn't have any problem with it being the late fee, but getting rid of the interest and working towards that. I don't think that the interests of the county or the state are served when you have a business that is here, that chose to be here, that employs our citizens, that gets nailed with this kind of a penalty.
Well, if you think about the 10% of that, it was actually $300,000 that they've already paid towards those entities. And so like you just said, I have a hard time understanding or believing that a day late and it's a 10% fine no matter what. So I think we work with UAC and some of the legislatures to be able to change that to a susceptible thing. So
Because the penalty for this, where it's personal property, if I understand right, is substantially different than what it is for real property.
it is.
And so it would be nice if those lined up. I mean, that would almost make sense.
Yep.
So, I mean, from my standpoint, reading down through this, I understand that a lot of times interests are meant to be financial, but I struggle with that.
Well, and when it says the best interest for the county and the state, one thing about Niagara is that you don't even have to ask them when it comes to an event, and they're willing to donate so much. I mean, they donated 30,000 water bottles to the Spike 150 without even a blink of an eye, let alone funerals and other things. So, if we can continue to work in that direction, I don't have a problem with that either. If you'd like to talk to.
If you want to hear from Brandy.
What's that?
If you wanted to hear from Brandy, she said.
Oh,
Just give you something to consider. So if it's
Brandy.
personal property,
Yeah. Come up here
we
and
actually,
come up and state your
yeah,
name.
state your name.
Since we're talking about the personal property, and we've discussed this.
yeah, since you
Since
mentioned UAC and our efforts legislatively, let me give you something to think about. If it's a personal property debt, we actually, earlier in the year, had conversations with the Taxpayers Association where they were asking for all counties collectively to extend the date for personal property collections because of COVID-19, because it is in statute, that date is defined. That wasn't something that we could just make a decision to do on our own. However, I do know that many of the counties, as we surveyed them to get information on how they were going to handle these employers who were struggling, and we're certainly sensitive to that, had made decisions that they were not going to impose penalty and interest. You do have the flexibility of that, and many of them were talking of a date of like August 15th. So I do know that other counties are in similar situations, similar conversations, and that's kind of, at least the majority of the responses that we heard back, that's the direction that they were going. So specific to the statute that deals with best human interest, that was brought up during the last legislative session. We weighed in on it a little bit. It's separate from the code that deals with tax collections. It's in a whole different area of statute.
And it is kind of the catch-all that totally gives you authority to, whether it's looking at businesses and other types of things that they communicate. So where you're saying it doesn't necessarily reflect on the financial interest of the county, but other things that you may consider, with, does this make sense for our community for reasons other than financial reasons that we would make consideration? And so it is something that, we can continue to look at. The other section that deals with the amount of penalty or interest on past due accounts is certainly something that we can look at, but
Okay.
hopefully that's helpful.
You need to grab your mic. Sorry.
With COVID and everything else, when you do what you're going to do, just make sure that we've clarified the record, because we're setting a precedent of when we're going to forgive those situations, and we want to make it clear why we're doing it.
Thanks, Brady.
Yeah, thanks, Brandy.
Thanks, Brian. So I guess with saying that, would you entertain a motion to, I think what you had just said, if you'd want to turn that into a motion and with the penalty and interest, and I think that would be fair in my opinion, so they can get this taken care of.
Yeah, do we have the original? The interest was, if I remember right, the interest was approximately 30,000 because it was 10% just immediately, rather
The
it's
penalty was 30,000.
the penalty,
Interest is very small.
the interest?
The interest is
Okay.
small.
It was the penalty with
is
10%.
Penalty was the
on the
10%.
day that it's, once they're done.
Okay.
Yep.
And then the interest was a pretty small
A
amount.
couple $100.
It might have been $600 or $700.
Yeah. So honestly, I would be okay with just charging them the interest and quoting that the COVID part of it and taking care of it that way.
Our county did not do an ordinance to extend that time.
Yeah,
The other
but-
counties that she's talking
Yeah.
about
Right.
did.
but we also found out from Steve, as long as we're talking about it, we can do whatever we seem fit, so.
I mean,
Yeah.
something does need to be paid. It's late.
I would make a motion that we we forgive or forego the penalty and just charge the interest on the late payment from Niagara due to COVID.
And I'll second that motion.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Scott, second by Commissioner Summers. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Thanks.
All righty. Scott, you're up.
All right.
Yeah.
Good to see you on the other one.
Okay, our first subdivision is the Ponderosa subdivision, Phase 1. This is located at 11787 West, 10400 North, kind of out in the Thatcher Penrose area. This is a one-lot subdivision consisting of 1.08 acres, and it has been reviewed and approved by all applicable county staff, and comes with a recommendation of approval.
That was just one lot, 1 acre.
Correct.
Okay.
I'll make a motion, we approve the Ponderosa subdivision, Phase 1.
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Commissioner Summers, a second by Commissioner Scott. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The next one is the Mills subdivision. This also is a one-lot subdivision located at 11336 North, 4400 West, just out there between Tremonton and Deweyville. This one is 2.081 acres in size and also has been reviewed with a recommendation of approval by all applicable county staff.
This again is just one lot.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, I would make a motion that we approve the Mills subdivision.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Scott, second by Commissioner Summers. All in favor?
Aye.
And the last one we've got is the MCAT subdivision Phase 2. This is also one lot, and it is 2 acres in size, located at 5348 West, 6800 North. Yeah, and that one also has been reviewed and comes with a recommendation of approval by all applicable county staff.
I seen this MCAT on the thing and thought it was for a different thing. I was wondering why you were presenting for the MCAT, so made me a little nervous, but.
Yeah, that's the test to get into a medical school.
It's like, wow.
There you go.
I make a motion, we approve the MCAT subdivision Phase 2.
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Commissioner Summers, second by Commissioner Scott. All in favor?
Aye.
Hey, Scott, I was just going to tell you one more thing. We were discussing, had some discussions about some stuff about how if we approve a subdivision, that doesn't necessarily give them a building permit.
No.
So I think there's something out there that people need to understand and realize that some subdivisions are approved, but they still have to prove different things to get a building permit. And I just think that there's a lot of misinformation out there on certain subdivisions. So if, that would be something that maybe we can put out there so people would understand and realize that, just approving a subdivision doesn't mean you actually have a building permit, even if you buy a lot. You still have to get the building permit. So.
Yeah, and we try and make that pretty clear. I mean, a subdivision, a subdivided lot, when it's approved, is considered a buildable lot, but until you submit your building permit application, your water right, and your septic approval, then you won't be issued a building permit itself. So, and then some people may also confuse. There are other types of subdivisions as well, like agricultural subdivisions and public
Right.
utility subdivisions, which those are not buildable until they go through a buildable subdivision process. So.
Okay, I was just making that clear because we've had some discussions, and I've had some discussions with people that think that just because the county gave them a subdivision map, then therefore all this stuff is going to happen. They don't understand and realize all the things that have to happen for a building permit, so.
Yeah, that does not surprise me.
Okay,
So.
Excellent point.
thought we'd put that on the record.
Our final item is regarding the Corridor Preservation Fund. So Portage Town received some funding approximately 2 years ago for a project out there. It was actually 2 projects. One of those is the 8800 West corridor. They were redoing that corridor, so essentially putting down a new sub-base, asphalt, drainage system, so it would last, basically a well-designed road to last longer term. That project ended up, there were, based on their letter I forwarded to you, the project did see unforeseen obstacles requiring the town to put an additional $55,000 into rebuilding the sub-base portion of the roadway. And the town is asking Box Elder County to help fund the remaining shouldering and finished drainage work to complete the project. So they're, in addition to what they were awarded 2 years ago, they're asking for an additional $45,000 from that Corridor Preservation Fund, and they would put in the additional $10,000 to finalize the project. This request went before the mayors at the last mayor's meeting, July 6th, 2020, and that was approved by the mayors, and now would need to receive final approval by the county commission in order for that funding to be dispersed upon completion of the project.
Did they say what specific obstacles they ran into on that?
We had the shouldering problem, and then there was more fill that was brought in.
Yeah, it was mostly with regard to the sub-base portion of the roadway. Built it up so it was more stable.
Okay.
So, and I know their original quote on the project, they were able to cut in almost half, just with the assistance of Bill being able to
To facilitate some of the stuff.
Help with some of the work and basically just know his way around projects like this, so.
Okay.
Yep.
Very good. No, as long as it's been through the COG and everybody's good with that, and I know Bill's been heavily involved, so I would make a motion that we approve the additional ask from Portage Town on the corridor road project on 8800 West.
Second that motion.
Have a motion by Commissioner Scott, second by Commissioner Summers. All in favor?
Aye.
Do you want to, sorry, I should have interrupted you earlier.
Oh.
Do you want to specify that that's for 45,000?
Yes,
Oh.
the additional 45,000. So they're going to come up with the other 10 on their own.
That's what it sounds like based on their letter.
Yeah, let's amend that for.
It's just corridor preservation fund.
I'll email it to you.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll second that amended motion.
Okay. Have a motion by Commissioner Scott, second by Commissioner Summers. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Did you want to sign these now or after the meeting?
We can do it now. You want to do it now?
Postscript, the amended motion. What?
Here's a whole plate of them. Just kidding. He was like,
Should have told him I was going to sue him.
have to have a motion for that. Every one of them. That's true. Yeah, we did. Well, you didn't actually see me do it. You just heard me say I was going to. Here's it. Right?
You got everything?
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
Good one.
Appreciate it.
Sorry for all the emails I've sent you. Say that up front.
Okay, Chief Deputy Ward, Sheriff. Got the Forest Service contract.
Afternoon. We're asking you to sign the Forest Service contract. It's basically the same contract we've had in place for years. Nothing's changed on the amount or anything. And what it's for is they're paying us back for when we keep track of how much time we do in the Forest Service, and they pay us back for that up to a cap, which is $6,000. So it doesn't seem like a lot of money.
I thought it was 9. I thought okay.
Doesn't seem like a lot of money, but on the other hand, if there was no contract, I would have to do the same patrols and answer the same calls. So it would be my job anyway. So it's a good, wish it was more money, but it's a pretty good contract for doing what I would do anyway.
Yeah.
And Steve is looking at the contract and agrees that it hasn't changed, it's just an update to the existing one that we've had for the past 5 years, so.
Okay. Do you guys have any questions?
No. I would make a motion that we approve the Forest Service contract number 20-43.
With electronic signatures?
They're requesting an electronic signature and always give it to them.
Second that motion.
Have a motion by Commissioner Scott, a second by Commissioner Summers. All in favor?
Aye. I think that's specifically because they
Thank you,
can't read
guys.
our signatures from prior years.
All right. Stanley, you want to talk about this one? I think you're
Yeah,
familiar with this.
this is something that's been going on for the last 35 years, if you can believe that. Union Pacific has been trying to upgrade the bridges going to Nucor. So they'll be able to put 25% more load on their trains coming out of Nucor. The only thing that was stopping them was 2 bridges. And Union Pacific did those this last summer, and everything's done now. You'll be able to tell the difference between this train speed and the load speed. And from what Nucor's told me, that's about 15 trucks a week that are taken off the highway, so in that time frame. But just be noticeable that the train traffic will actually be faster coming to and from out of cities, and they just wanted all the cities that are affected to let them know that those things will happen because of this action. So we appreciate Union Pacific being a good partner in Box Elder County and doing these things. And then I know Nucor and places like Hess, Pumice, and Idaho and stuff are really appreciative of being able to put more tonnage on the trains and help that way in their bottom line. So thank you for everybody. And this is just kind of an informational part. So it'll help, pass through quicker when they're coming down through. Stops won't last so long, and it'll be a good thing in the end. So that was just information for everybody.
Okay, great. Thanks. Looks like we've got the appointment for Dispatch Advisory Board. Do you guys have anything on that one?
I didn't put it on.
I don't.
I don't either.
I don't either.
Well,
That was
I
mine.
can,
Oh,
I was in that meeting.
Oh, okay.
I didn't put it on, but I happened to, I think Corey did, and I think he's on the file.
oh,
Oh.
okay, good.
that,
We were all looking at each other going, what?
When,
This is making more sense now.
when Jean Loveland retired
Oh,
recently, she was on the dispatch advisory board, and her, when she left, she asked if her replacement, Chief Theron Fielding, could just stay on the board in her place. But ultimately, that was, you guys point that, the advisory board had a vote of, we knew that you would want to know what we thought, and if we had recommendations to you, and our recommendation was that we thought that idea was fine. It was great to have that agency, someone down south. We have north and south, and big and small agencies, and it kind of made sense. So our recommendation from the dispatch board was to just keep it the new police chief, Theron Fielding.
so Gene Loveland will be replacing Theron Fielding.
No,
Vice versa, yeah.
Oh, okay.
When I first read the agenda, I thought
Be replaced by, okay.
Fielding's a city. I mean, they're already, being dispatched, and then I saw the name, so
Name is there.
they're in
They're in
Fielding.
Fielding.
Yeah, so, all right.
Okay. Great. Thanks, Sheriff.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thanks.
it. Okay, I'd entertain a motion.
Well, I'd make a motion that we appoint Theron Fielding to serve on the Dispatch Advisory Board.
second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Scott, second by Commissioner Summers. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, Sheriff.
Yeah. Okay, we've got a grant program for COVID, and we've got Brandy Grace here from UAC, and we've got our economic advisor, Mitch Zundel. Do you want to just come up and explain briefly what it is we're trying to do as far as putting together as far as the grant process, and then we'll have Brandy speak to the UAC portion of it?
So with the CARES Act, the county has received a fair amount of money and we're allocating those toward PPE and other things within the county. And there's an amount left that we're exploring or trying to figure out how to get to the businesses as another alternative use of those funds. The businesses have been shut down because of COVID, completely affected by it, and so we're creating a grant program for the businesses. So,
Yeah, and I know you've been working with Monica on getting that going, and along with that, Brandy, we'll have you come up and speak to that. We've looked at contracting with UAC to handle the administrative side of that, to coordinate and work with the chamber. So you want to explain kind of how that works?
Absolutely, yes. We were approached earlier, well, and had been heavily involved in the conversations as the state was receiving this money and advocating for a portion of that to go to local governments. We feel very fortunate that we were successful, as I've heard from my counterparts across the country and the challenges that they've had in getting the state to share that money. So it's very fortunate where local elected officials really have an opportunity to assess the situation of their business community and, of course, their own needs and how you provide services to the citizens, but be able to get that money, into areas where it really can make a difference and be helpful with sustainability of businesses. So we had been involved early on in the conversations, had some calls with U.S. Treasury. So we feel, even though there's still, uncertainties about the use of money and clarification that continues to come down from federal agencies, we've been involved in those conversations from the beginning. Started hearing from some of our member counties about a need to help assist with that effort. And so this goes right along with UAC and our goal of helping our members and providing services when needed most. Many of our counties have combined clerk auditors' offices, and this year being an election year, and many of those individuals whose focus was pulling off elections the best that they were able to, and then being hit with this was one other thing. So we just, as a staff, got together and decided this was something where we could provide some assistance and hopefully be helpful. It then extended into, well, what about these cities who also have money that they're really uncertain what to do with it? And some of those cities now going back to the county saying, if you've already put a program in place, can we just through an interlocal type agreement just send our money your way and pool it in order to get the money into these business communities. So we're excited to be a part of it, feel like we can be helpful, feel like we've been involved in the conversations and have at least a fairly good understanding of how the money can be used. And so we want to offer assistance where needed and hopefully can help make a difference. So we ultimately put together an MOU that we've shared with the commissioners and are interested in helping if that's helpful to you.
And hopefully some of these small cities, and actually bigger cities I've seen on the list, can take advantage of the situation. So we appreciate all the effort. I know you were on the task force for COVID, throughout. So we were lucky to have, front row seat of all these things that were happening. And yes, I was just talking before that we had heard some of the states actually throwing all of their CARES Act money towards one specific thing and not being able to, put it towards local officials. So, and local areas. So we do appreciate the governor and the state, bringing that back to us to be able to help us do some things. So.
No, I think that's key. There's a lot of very, very small towns that get an allocation just by virtue of being incorporated, but they simply don't have the staff to administer it. And so if we can do this centralized and then maybe have a focus of spreading it out to areas that are affected in those individual towns, so that the money doesn't come into a common place and then they get left out. So as long as we can keep that focus, I think it's a huge benefit for these small towns that just wouldn't be able to administer it otherwise.
Right. And Mitch, you're in the middle of talking to all those people that were on that list, so that'd be good if we can get that ASAP so we can make this happen.
Yeah.
I know you've talked to a few of them.
all the towns and cities.
Okay, you've been able to get a hold of all of them now. Great.
Okay.
Something to be aware of. So the first tranche of money came out, the way that we negotiated with GOMB and with the legislature was that it would be divided into 3 tranches. The purpose for that was we didn't know what fall would look like. We didn't know if there would be hot spots or certain areas where there would be additional resources needed to address concerns or issues that came up. The second tranche should be released this week, but I will tell you in conversations with the governor's office, one of the things that's been brought up is the state does not want to be put in a situation where we get to the end of the year and the money has not been deployed, and then they're responsible to return that to Treasury. And so they haven't come right out and said, if you don't use it, we're going to pull it back, but they're saying, guys, what are you doing with this money? We've said, fine, we'll send it your way, but then if you're not doing anything with it, they're not going to allow it to just keep sitting on the table. At some point, they're going to say, we've got to figure out a different way to deploy this. So in conversations with your cities, I think that's important to relay to them that you know, we do need a coordinated effort, and we do need to be moving this along. I think that we're fine with the second tranche that should make its way down even probably this week. But if nothing's done and they don't start seeing reports of that money being deployed, then, you know, potentially, it makes it harder for us to advocate for it.
Especially for a
going
third
back
one.
again.
Yeah.
Well, and in approving you guys to help administer this, they'll also take the liability, UAC will take that liability because they'll be dispersing those checks out to the businesses, correct?
Depending on how you want it. So that is what some of the MOUs with other counties have done, back to, you know, issues with coordinating with the cities. The other issue that comes up with that is federal funds cannot be used for the same purpose.
Right.
And so having a coordinated effort, whether they applied for funding through the state, through an AOG, through the city, through the county, there needs to be some coordination so that your businesses aren't applying for essentially the same purpose, because that is a violation of the CARES Act.
And we went over there and.
We've
we
already
went o-
seen it.
Yeah, we've seen that with our brag meeting. We just went through it
Oh.
last week because,
There's one that was a very, very large ask. I think it was $250,000 plus, and they've already asked through a municipality and an AOG. And so I think what they're doing is they're throwing it against the wall, and wherever it sticks, they're hoping that they'll get funding. And so, you know, if all of a sudden they get 2 or 3 $250,000 checks, they're in violation big time.
Yeah, the county is still, well, any governmental entity who initially received the funding from the state is responsible through transparency, reporting back to the state auditor, which they do periodically anyways. Those dollars have to be identified by a certain way that the chart of account code gets modified in order to define that was CARES dollars. That's how the state is tracking it. Another consideration to you know, at least be mindful of, we're navigating it and think that we've got a pretty good handle on it, but there is a little bit of a concern about the information that you request from those businesses, whether it's profit and loss statements, tax returns, that type of thing. If the county maintains those, potentially they could be classified as a record, and businesses are obviously not going to want to be sharing that information, believing that it then would be subject to GRAMA. So we're working with the legislature on that right now as well to make sure that we're protecting those records of those businesses. So having you know, someone who's not a governmental entity help with the, you know, reviewing those applications or making the final disbursements might be another way that kind of
Separate.
addresses that.
okay. Good.
Any other questions?
I don't have anything. Do you, Scott? Have we got the MOU here, Marla?
There was a copy that was sent to Commissioner Hadfield, and then he forwarded it to us. I don't know, have you received a copy?
I think I
Or Steve?
forwarded it on to Jesse yesterday, but
Well,
Something she didn't receive, it's one thing.
We could approve it pending Steve's review. There's a few things that we would
So
need
moved.
to,
It's an RDA though, right?
no, that's a
it's
separate.
Yeah.
one.
Oh, that's a separate.
Yeah.
yeah, there's a few things that we would need to review or that Steve might have a question on. But
Okay.
yeah, I would make a motion that we approve the MOU with the Utah Association of Counties in regards to the grant program for COVID-19, pending approval from our county attorney's office.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Scott, second by Commissioner Summers. All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, you guys.
Okay. and
Thanks.
With
See you in a minute.
that, let's
We want to go to the
let's
RDA.
move into our RDA. Brandy, you want to stay up here?
That way you can get rid of us.
Yeah.
Give me just a second to change the.
Okay. Oops.
Okay, I'm good.
I'm waiting for it to pull up. There we go. Nope.
Oh, there we go.
It doesn't want to pull up in my,
That's not what I want.
Six
That's
o'clock
probably
this
not the one
morning.
I want, though, is it?
Are you in PowerPoint?
I will be now.
Okay.
Yeah, I went into the wrong one.
Okay. It should have been right on the first page. Commission PowerPoint.
Hmm.
Go back one more.
Oh, okay, there it is.
I'll tell him that's us snorting up the cookies.
Let's see, and there's two different.
Letter 19.
CRDA.
Blue AM and blue. Let's try this one. There we go. Hey, we're there.
It's not letting me log into it, so I'm flying blind here. We'll just use this. Okay. If you guys had a chance to look at the minutes, I'd entertain a
I
motion
did.
to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion we approve the minutes from August 5th, 2020.
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Commissioner Summers, second by Commissioner Scott. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. This contract RDA 2018 with UAC and Economic Development for Region Inland Port. In doing this, Stan, you want to visit a little bit, just briefly about the Inland Port stuff?
You know, about a year ago, I should say probably 2 years ago, they came up with what they call the hub and spoke, which is now the satellite system with the inland port. I'm not sure the actual press release has come out with how many counties are going to be on that, but Box Elder County will be one of them. And so in this, Stuart Clausen, that is with UAC, was basically one of the founding members for the inland port, and now is helping 4 other, plus us, 3 others, so,
So,
well, I guess there's 2 that are combined, so,
yeah, well,
anyway.
a
So,
lot of work.
yeah, and in that, we felt it was necessary to be able to kind of have some cohesiveness with the state in this portion, so, and in doing so, we're looking at a countywide, basically RDA, to be able to impact this and have it, you know, make the most sense. So, and I'm sure Stuart and Jack Hedge will be up here multiple times talking about this, but this will just get us going in the right direction.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we felt like being able to do that, and then also it would give us an asset to be able to help, be an assistance to help with Mitch with other economic development issues as well, along with this.
Yeah.
So,
So if I may,
Yeah.
UAC currently has contracts with 3 counties specifically for just general economic development related stuff. We then engaged in an MOU with the Inland Port Authority to help with identifying areas of the state that fit into the hub and spoke model or the satellite location concept. And Commissioner Summers is right, Box Elder County ranks very high on that list as they've identified existing infrastructure. And then also, that's the piece that we're compiling for them, is analyzing different areas where existing infrastructure exists. But we're now taking it a step further to say, besides the existing infrastructure, what could happen in an area that maybe would then drive business into that area if we were to bring in, you know, an additional rail spur, that type of thing. So we're taking it a step further. Simultaneously, Inland Port entered into a contract with the firm that is looking at business demand, and then those 2 pieces will come together to identify where is the existing business demand with the infrastructure, and then, you know, how do we bring those together to really promote growth and be able to help our rural communities with economic development. And so, yes, Box Elder County is one of the areas where they've identified tremendous potential. We're excited about that. Beyond that, we've done some additional work in the way of economic development. Mitch is very familiar with that work, and so we're excited to partner with you. We're excited to be a support. This MOU or contract that you have for economic development services has more of a focus on that inland port, just because of the potential of Box Elder County. So it differs a little bit from the agreements that we have with the other 3 counties, but similar concept. But we want to be a support to you, and are excited for the work that can be done.
well, and I think what brought us to this point too is the good work that they were doing with the solar plants, solar areas, and I think tomorrow you guys are going to hear from them again on hopefully Rocket 2 and stuff. So, you know, I think being a part of this and having it get done so quick is another good reason to be able to bring this. And also, we found out this weekend, because of you guys being involved in helping us in the way that we did that brought, you know, what, $50 million back in tax incentives over the next 20 years to the county. Rich County actually did not put their last solar project into something that they could actually get the money back out of. So hopefully we can help them. I gave them Stuart's name and stuff when we were up there, and that they will be able to put that, and I don't think they understood the change in the law about personal property, so, but I think being able to help each other out in that aspect, they will now move forward in that and hopefully get a hold of Stuart and we can make that so Rich County can, you know, make some of those tax incentives also.
Maybe I'll reach out to him because Senate Bill 95 that provided that fund would be a great use of funds.
Yep. Okay.
Great. Anything else? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I would make a motion that we approve contract RDA number 20-18 with UAC and regarding economic development, specifically for the regional inland port, pending final approval from our county attorney's office.
I'll second that motion.
I've looked at it, I reviewed it.
I think I
Yeah.
have this one.
Yeah, Brian
Okay.
looked it over.
I do have this one.
I mean, hardly me stepping on Steve Hatfield's, it looks fine to me.
Okay.
There's no surprises, there's nothing out of the ordinary.
Just
The one
straightforward.
thing, I think there's $30,000 a year plus possible $5,000 for incidentals.
For
That
travel.
looks pretty straightforward.
Up to that, yeah.
I'm gonna jump in there and say I have enough authority to say you don't need to worry about it.
Okay.
So,
You want to amend that?
I'll amend it.
Second,
Let's approve it.
second
Okay,
that
I
amendment.
have a motion by Commissioner Scott, second by Commissioner Summers. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you,
Thank you,
Brandy.
Brandy.
Entertain a motion to
You headed back?
leave our,
I think I will unless I can do anything else for you. It's good to be here.
yeah, it's good to have
I
you.
love when I get out of the office.
Especially heading north
Yeah.
instead of heading, yeah, into the belly of the beast, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe in contact on a couple of issues that are coming up in this interim session. There's one on there that, anyway, I'll get in touch with you.
Sounds good. I don't think the legislature took a break this year.
Yeah.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn our,
I'll make a motion, we adjourn the RDA.
Second?
a motion by Commissioner Summers, second by Commissioner Scott. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're back into our commission meeting. You need a second, Marla?
Yeah, give me a second.
Okay.
Thanks, Brandy.
Yeah, thanks.
See ya.
I saw your, I have not had a chance to talk. So, it's all right.
Okay.
We're on the alcohol.
Okay, looks like we're back to our fairgrounds policy regarding alcohol.
Yeah.
And looks like they're not here.
Well,
You want to just,
yeah, we can take care of it. They were
Yeah,
supposed to
we
be
can
here
take care of
last
it.
time and we kind of forgot about it.
yeah,
During the summer concert series, the Elks, or who was it? I can't remember, the lodge has actually done this a couple times for their concert series. They have a specific place, they have a wristband. Eagles, thank you. Elks,
Down at
eagles.
Watkins Park.
Still an animal. Anyway,
I thought you were going to say Journey.
so that's one thing that we really haven't had a lot to do up at the fairgrounds. But some of the events that are coming in, you know, want to specifically do that, have beer gardens, that kind of stuff. So we looked in our policies, we do not have an actual policy in that, so we're probably just gonna have to take them one at a time. Is that correct?
Well, we
got
kind
a
of,
policy.
we don't necessarily have a policy, but in the contract to reserve a venue, it specifically talks about no alcohol being allowed.
Right.
So this would be, in essence, an amendment to a contract.
An exception to it, yeah.
And I think we basically do, you know, take them one by one and see how this goes, and so.
Well, I would dare say on this one, just because of the nature of COVID and the lack of venues, that we probably make an exception this time around for this beer garden, and like I say, go from there.
I've had a chance to speak with Brigham City Corp., and when they approved the one for Watkins Park, when they did the concert in the past, they were a little bit leery and hesitant based on what could happen. But they provide their own personal security, and they simply don't allow people outside of the designated area.
Yep.
If you attempt to leave the area with an alcoholic beverage, they will kick you out of the event.
Right.
And so, you know, they don't mess around. And they said that they had absolutely no problems of any kind. So,
I think if you approve this, you'll want to.
Amend.
See the fact there's a lack of venues and that we're
Yeah.
providing something for them that is out of the norm.
Yeah.
And that based upon their past performances and their ability to keep the crowd under control, you'll make an exception.
yeah, and they're responsible for providing their own security. That needs to be in the contract, and they are responsible to keep people in line. And if anybody violates that, they are to leave the venue. So, okay.
I'd entertain a motion then.
I'd make a motion that we approve the beer license for the summer concert, specifically the concert on September 19th at the Box Elder County Fairgrounds Arena.
So you, right now, your motion should be to allow the change of the contract.
Oh, okay.
Make an
The
exception.
beer license is on there separate.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I'd make a motion that we approve the change to the fairgrounds policy regarding alcohol for this specific event due to COVID and the lack of venue.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Scott, second by Commissioner Summers. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Looks like we got the stuff with Marla here, the Nitro National Hill Climb.
Okay, so the Nitro Hill Climb has been canceled.
Yep.
Okay. So we don't need to worry
Due
about
to dry conditions, they said they didn't think they could get a permit to go out and do this where they were going to do it.
Yeah.
So,
Mufflers, sparks.
but he is looking into doing some flat track stuff at the fairgrounds. He loves the venue, he loves Box Elder County, so in the future, I have a feeling that this thing we're talking about now would probably go along with the things that he's trying to do at the fairgrounds also, so.
They need to shift these to early spring
Well,
when
they
it's
tried
nice and
this year.
green.
They froze to death up this year. It was raining
Yeah.
and snowing, and
All right.
so they had one. They were going to come back and do two, but
Okay. So that brings us to the summer concert.
Okay, so this is the beer license for the beer garden.
okay.
They apply through the state, but they have to have authorization from the local entity.
jurisdiction. Okay, I make a motion. We approve the summer concert beer license at the fairgrounds.
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Commissioner Summers, second by Commissioner Scott. All in favor?
Aye.
Do you want me to say the date? September 19th, Lee Greenwood, Restless Heart.
That's pretty specific.
I just know that maybe sometimes I'll want to take a look at that and see what date that was actually. So I'll amend that motion to include those dates and times.
Okay,
Tickets on sale now.
do you get a cut?
No,
Sorry.
just a good time.
All right.
What the heck's that one?
Warrant registers.
Oh, that's the list. I'm like, never seen that before.
to figure out a way to do it.
Who's this, a test guy? That's true. Yes. If you want to, I mean, if not.
That is brilliant.
Yeah.
Me and my corporal tunnel appreciate this.
that. Oh, this is just mine, I guess. Boy, I'm almost done with that. Somebody else can worry about it. Stan, did you organize these for me?
Have you seen me flipping them over?
It's like.
I'll make a motion that we go into a closed session to talk about possible litigation. Sorry, I'm jumping the gun there, big boys.
I'm concentrating, I didn't hear you.
I'm not seconding that yet anyways.
I didn't think you would for a minute, so. Did you print out the Abraham Lincoln one too? Document?
That's it.
Will you please? That's pretty cool. So the- I did.
Stanley. Okay. This- Put that back there.
I sent that.
Oh, okay.
Do we
Everything okay out there?
just want to,
I put an S on your signature.
do we just want to do it right now?
Okay out there.
On my Young's,
I got, I,
Marla's,
Marlis?
Marla.
You'll have to wipe that out. Smarla.
You probably think it's
Smarla.
Smarla?
We could just do it right now.
We gotta do a closed session really quick.
So this one,
Or
you-
do we have to find you later? Or are you gonna send us,
I'll just be right here.
Okay.
taking care of that?
Okay.
okay, I guess.
Hey, Jenica, on those numbers that you sent over to us, were those specifically in the general fund?
It's done by department, with the jail coming out of general fund and then.
So this is total, so this is the amount that was allocated from general and municipal services?
I think so. Tom could give you the breakdown on the GL.
Okay, because the numbers, just as I briefly looked through them, it seemed like they should have been a lot higher. And so maybe I'm not understanding where they're coming from. I'll have to look at it more in detail.
So that's just that small period of time. It's just the sworn officers.
Just March through December.
March through August.
Evander
first.
Oh, March
And
through
they'll give-
August.
'cause I have to give actual.
Evander Holyfield has his
Yeah,
mask
okay.
on and it's just hanging down. and he goes,
Okay, so we would
"Darn,
actually
my eyes."
have,
You could probably almost double it.
okay.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
April to August.
Because as I was playing with it and looking at the numbers, it seemed to me like between salaries and benefits, it could have been between 4 and 5 million. All right.
And I think if you essentially double that through the end of the year, you'll be close.
Okay.
But we have to use exact wages.
There you go.
We need a second hit.
Yeah, whatever he said. Closed session.
Yep.
All in flavor?
Okay. I have a motion by Commissioner Summers, second by Commissioner Scott. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.